Yeah, from September we start a phased rollout of a new broadband network. So the core or the heart of the whole broadband network is being replaced. We will do it very carefully over a phased period. Make sure that we give people advance notice. It's a week's notice of when there'll be a change in their area. We'll do it area by area. It means overnight, between sort of midnight and 6 a.m., there'll be some loss of service, sort of up to 4 hours. But once we've completed this process, we'll then have a new network. It'll give us more capacity, better performance, and better resilience of our broadband network.
And what will the changes actually involve? What are the main things you're trying to achieve with this?
Yeah, I mean, we have a copper-based broadband network, so that's an old network. We've seen a significant increase in demand, and if you look at what's happened with COVID and people going to work from their homes and from their businesses, that actually we've seen a huge increase in traffic. We'd always planned to actually replace the core of the network as part of the Fibre rollout program, but actually because of what we saw during COVID, we brought that program forward. So that's why we're replacing the heart of the broadband. So it's a significant project, huge amount of work from the team, in a test environment, making sure that it works fine. So a lot of preparatory work that's led up to this September changeover, and work for the next couple of months from September to get that network in.
You've mentioned there that it's going to be done from during overnight hours between, say, midnight and 6 a.m. But what guarantees can you have in place that it won't run beyond that? Because obviously a couple of hours after 6 a.m., for example, people will be going back into work. They'll be getting to a busy start of the morning.
Yeah, I mean, we've given ourselves 6 hours overnight. We're saying that your service could be off for up to 4 hours. What typically happens if you are implementing something new, you'll roll it out. If there are issues, then you can roll back to the previous setup. So our expectation is that it will operate. We'll do the work over that 6 hour period so that people will be back up at 6 o'clock in the morning.
And just how far does this new network spread in terms of the island?
It's the whole island. So this is actually the core, the heart of the network. So this is what makes the network operate, if you like. In terms of fibre, which we've talked a lot about before, that programme is actually going to mean that we'll have fibre broadband to 99% of the island by the end of 2024. So this is an important part of that investment and getting people the best broadband they can on the island for today and actually more importantly for the future.
There may be, correct me if I'm wrong here, there may be a couple of challenges that come. Obviously, this is a big transition from the core network, but obviously not all of the island has fibre at the moment. You say obviously the aim is to have the island, more fully covered by 2024. So how will people's systems be able to cope with this if they're not in that system already?
Yeah, so the core of the network will operate for both copper-based broadband and for fibre-based broadband. So everyone will benefit from the increased capacity that the island will have because of this new core, the additional resilience and improved performance. But the ultimate objective here is to try and get everybody to move to fibre broadband. That's recognised as being the best quality broadband. It's something that the island, we really believe, needs to adopt. You can get fantastic speeds, great reliability with fibre. The copper broadband has held up really well during the pandemic. Despite the fact it's been a real difficult period with huge volumes. But looking to the future, we do need to get new technology into the network, which is fibre broadband.
One of the things, it's not just something that can be an issue on the Isle of Man, it's in the UK and beyond, but having the right connection speeds in the likes of remote areas, and it will be the case, I'm sure, on Ireland, how can the likes of fibre rollout, for example, be done efficiently to make sure that other parts of the island aren't at a disadvantage to, say, places with larger infrastructure, such as the island's main towns?
So fibre is a technology which means that we can have great speeds across the whole of the island. It's unlike copper broadband where there are limitations, that the further you are away from the cabinet, the slower the speeds can be. So the introduction of fibre will mean that we will enjoy better speeds, better performance, better reliability, and will have increased capacity and resilience for the island. So it really is a technology for the future.
I suppose on top of that, coming back to that point of over the next 3 years you're looking to expand this system. It's the fact that if someone out in, say, somewhere like Aaron Michael or out in Maccled doesn't have this system in place and isn't going to get that for the next maybe 2.5 years compared to someone, say, in Douglas, Peel or Ramsey, how does it justify let's say the same costs and demands on the system?
Yeah, so there's two programs running. One is the National Broadband Plan, which we're working with the government to cover all those rural areas on the island, so that they can benefit from fibre broadband. And then the other part of the island is those that are more economic to reach. So that's a program we've been running. We're actually in our third year of getting fibre across all of those areas. So we're running those two programs in parallel. So many remote areas already got access to fibre broadband, and it would be great to give everybody fibre tomorrow. But the realities are, we have to continue with this program, and it will take us, 3 years to actually get the fibre out to those rural areas. The plan is to cover 99% of the island, so there are going to be some remote areas which actually won't be able to benefit potentially from fibre broadband. And then maybe other technologies may be needed to actually fill those gaps. But the majority of the island will be able to benefit from fibre broadband, in 3 years' time when we've covered the majority of the island.
If someone, for example, in, say, one of these more remote areas says, I want to sign up to fibre broadband, but the system isn't in place, what's it actually involved to make sure that system is put in place? How long does it take?
Well, there is a program and a plan. There is a spine of fibre that's been put around the island, and so that dictates the order in which we can actually get fibre to different parts of the island. So, it is unfortunate if you're in one of those areas that, is at the back end of the program. It's very difficult for us to change the plan to be able to get you fibre earlier. So, that's the reality of the program. It is going to take time to get across the whole of the island, but we will get there by 2024.
And how much will this cost to customers, for example? Is there any extra expense?
No, I mean, we've invested or are investing, £50 million into this fibre network. The government have supported the rural areas. So it's an investment that, we've been planning for some time. And it's an important investment for not only for us, but in particular for the island, for the reasons I mentioned, that it's really important we have really good quality broadband on the island. We've seen during COVID the change in the way that people behave and work, and people work from home. So we want to get the best broadband we can into everybody's homes as soon as we can.
I suppose what I meant there was just to clarify: are people going to see more costly bills per month or per year?
Well, the plan is not to actually for this to cost significantly more to consumers. I mean, inevitably over time we will change the structure of plans, etc., in terms of how we bill customers for this service. But the plan is to get this infrastructure in the ground and get people that fibre broadband as quick as we can.
And what about those who are the likes of your customers, and there'll be plenty of for whatever reason just aren't quite that tech savvy, that and if these changes are coming in, they may not understand all the different terms and technology that's being explained to them. How are you going to help those to make sure that transition can be done smoothly and people aren't left behind?
Yeah, I think we need to do a better job of helping people understand what package they need for their broadband. We will have a number of packages. Some families will have children who are gaming and streaming films, etc. They might need a package which means that they need a significant bandwidth. There may be some lower level users. So I think we have a job to help people understand what packages you need, and in terms of any fibre broadband or any broadband product going forward.
Just on a slightly different side of things, just talking about, say, landline phones, for example, what's the situation around them? Is there any suggestion that these will become a thing of the past?
I think ultimately the copper network will have to disappear. We will be fibre based. This is something that's happening all around the world, obviously at different paces in different jurisdictions. So I think the answer to your question is, ultimately that copper network, which has been around for tens of years, will no longer function, and we will be using the fibre based network, which is, as I said, it's the network of the future. So copper will go at some point.
And that comes a little bit back to my previous question there. If there are those who have depended on landlines throughout their lives, it's part of their everyday, how do you help them change over to a new and convince them that fibre is better than the routine that they've known for years and years.
Yeah, we need to make the transition for everyone as smooth as we can. The fact that you've got a phone on a copper line versus a phone on a fibre line shouldn't really make a difference to a consumer. They need to be able to receive calls and use broadband. So, we will try to help people understand, look, don't be afraid of the technology. All we're doing is giving you new technology, which we need to do for the island and the future. You'll still be able to receive calls on a fixed line. You'll still be able to use broadband. So yeah, there's a job to be done, but it's something that we're ready to do and help people move to the new broadband and the new fixed line over time.
Two more questions. Before this system's been put into place, and as can happen, obviously there is sometimes occasional day-to-day disruption within the systems. With Manx Telecom has put updates out when this has happened and possibly why it's happened as well. Are there contingencies in place once this new system is phased in to make sure that that's less common of an occurrence?
Yeah, I mean, the first thing on service interruption, it's something that we obviously try to avoid, and we have different layers of resilience in the networks to be able to deal with this. Inevitably, we will have some disruption with our services at any point in time. And our objective is to obviously try to get those services back up as soon as possible. It's been very challenging for us and many other companies during COVID. We've had real challenges around the number of staff we've had. So trying to provide the service that we've always provided has actually been quite difficult because of illness, etc. We expect things like the fibre network, once we've got that into the ground and we've got hopefully everybody connected to fibre, that's a network that actually is more reliable than an older copper-based network. So my expectation is actually the quality of service and the reliability should be somewhat better than what we've seen before.
And final question on a completely different note. The island's red phone boxes, what's the situation with those at the moment?
Yeah, so when it comes to the phone boxes, you may have heard that what we were doing is working with Craig's Heart Foundation, a number of them that they sit in villages around the island. They don't take any money. People typically don't use phone boxes these days. Most people have mobile phones. We want to try and find a use for a good number of those phone boxes. So we thought that working with Craig's Heart Foundation, we could get defibrillators into those boxes. So we're currently talking to them, and we've got the defib units. It's about now refurbing some of those phone boxes and getting those defib units into those phone boxes. So yeah, watch this space. We'll be announcing which ones have been refurbed over the course of the next few weeks.
And just on top of that, you did as a company mention that even though phone equipment might be taken out for the ones that are going out of use, it wouldn't necessarily mean that the boxes themselves are going. Outside of the Craig's Heartstrong Foundation partnership there, do you expect any red phone boxes to disappear in the next, say, 6 to 12 months?
Yeah, I mean, we're giving an option to different areas to, if they want to adopt their phone box, then they can do that. Invariably, there'll be one or two that, will be removed, I'm sure. But I think the majority of the phone boxes, is still going to be around for a good time yet.